The battlefield was silent, not because the war had ended, but because fear had won. For 40 days, a giant walked onto the field and challenged an entire army. 40 days of insults, 40 days of humiliation, 40 days where trained warriors refused to fight. Then, a shepherd boy stepped forward. No armor, no sword, no military training, just faith, courage, and a sling. This is not just a story of strength versus weakness. It is a historical, psychological, and strategic moment that changed the course of Israel's history forever. The day David defeated Goliath. Around the 11th century BCE, the ancient Near East was filled with constant territorial conflict. The Israelites and the Philistines were locked in an ongoing struggle for control of fertile land and trade routes. The Philistines were technologically advanced for their time. They possessed superior iron weapons and organized military formations. The Israelites, by comparison, were still forming a unified kingdom and lacked the same level of military power. The two armies met in the Valley of Elah, a strategic location southwest of Jerusalem. The terrain mattered. Two hills faced each other with a valley between them, creating a natural battlefield. Instead of launching a full assault, the Philistines used a psychological tactic common in ancient warfare: single combat. One champion would fight on behalf of an entire army. That champion was Goliath. Historical descriptions portray Goliath as enormous, traditionally said to be over 9 feet tall. Whether literal or slightly exaggerated, archaeology confirms that unusually tall warriors existed among the Philistines. He wore bronze armor weighing roughly 125 pounds, carried a massive spear, and was protected by a shield-bearer walking ahead of him. This was essentially ancient heavy infantry, built for close combat dominance. Every day, Goliath stepped forward and issued the same challenge: "Send me a man to fight." But no one moved. Why? Because this was not just a physical challenge, it was psychological warfare. Goliath's size, equipment, and confidence were designed to break morale before the battle even began. And it worked. Even Israel's soldiers, including King Saul's experienced warriors, were terrified. David was not a soldier. He was a young shepherd delivering food to his older brothers serving in the army. Shepherds, however, were far from weak. Protecting sheep from predators required constant vigilance, courage, and skill with primitive weapons. When David arrived and heard Goliath's challenge, his reaction shocked everyone. While soldiers saw an unbeatable giant, David saw something different: a man defying his people and dishonoring his God. This difference in perception changed everything. King Saul initially agreed to let David fight, but insisted he wear royal armor. From a military standpoint, this made sense. Armor symbolized protection and legitimacy, but David removed it. Why? Because armor would have forced him into Goliath's style of combat: slow, close-range fighting. David understood something the army did not. Victory would not come from matching the giant's strengths, but exploiting his weaknesses. This decision shows remarkable tactical awareness. David chose mobility over protection, speed over weight, precision over power. Many modern retellings reduce David's sling to a child's toy. Historically, this is completely inaccurate. The sling was a deadly military weapon used across the ancient world. Skilled slingers could launch stones at speeds exceeding 100 kilometers per hour, with impact force comparable to a small caliber bullet. Ancient armies even employed specialized sling units. As a shepherd, David would have practiced daily, defending livestock from predators. Accuracy wasn't optional, it was survival. David was not bringing a weak weapon to battle. He was bringing a sniper's tool to a sword fight. When David approached, Goliath reacted with anger and disbelief. He expected traditional combat, sword against sword. Instead, David kept his distance. This transformed the engagement entirely. Goliath's heavy armor made him slow. His equipment was designed for close combat, not chasing a fast-moving opponent at range. David selected 5 smooth stones from a stream, not because he doubted success, but because experienced fighters prepare for multiple attempts. Then he ran toward the giant. This detail matters. Running forward increased sling velocity and demonstrated total confidence, further destabilizing Goliath psychologically. David released the stone. It struck Goliath in the forehead, the one vulnerable area not covered by armor. The giant collapsed instantly. The battle ended before it truly began. From a historical and military perspective, David's victory was not miraculous luck alone. It was strategic brilliance. David redefined the battlefield. He avoided close combat. He used superior mobility. He leveraged long-range weaponry. He targeted a precise weak point. In modern terms, this resembles asymmetrical warfare, where a smaller force defeats a stronger opponent by refusing to fight on traditional terms. David didn't overpower Goliath, he outthought him. The immediate aftermath was dramatic. The Philistines, whose confidence rested on their champion's invincibility, panicked and fled. Ancient warfare depended heavily on morale. Once psychological dominance collapsed, formations often broke instantly. The Israelites, witnessing the impossible victory, surged forward with renewed courage. One battle changed the emotional balance of an entire war. The account of David and Goliath survived not only because of religious significance, but because it reflects a universal human truth. History repeatedly shows smaller forces defeating stronger opponents through innovation and mindset rather than raw strength. The story symbolizes courage against overwhelming odds, intelligence over brute force, and faith driving action when fear paralyzes others. David represents adaptability. Goliath represents overconfidence in traditional power. And history often favors those willing to think differently. On that day in the Valley of Elah, the strongest warrior did not win. The fastest thinker did. A shepherd challenged a system built on intimidation and proved that dominance can collapse in a single moment when someone refuses to play by its rules. David didn't defeat Goliath because he was stronger. He won because he understood the battle better than anyone else. And sometimes, the greatest giants we face are not defeated by force, but by courage, strategy, and the willingness to step forward when everyone else stands still. One stone, one decision, one moment that turned fear into history. That is how David defeated Goliath.